come and appear. This is my first time coming to Radio Phoenix.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, so I was telling you, I think when we spoke last week, and actually we had this conversation off air a couple of minutes ago, and I was saying when you were mayor, it's something that I really wanted to, I wanted to have a chat. I believe, I could be wrong, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you were the young mayor at the time. I could be wrong.
I think there was Prince Chileshe in Kabwe. I think I was a year older than him, and Nathan Chanda in Luansha, a year older than them.
Yes,
but
you're among the young
yeah,
ones.
we were in the same age group.
Yeah, and I really wanted to have a conversation with you then, because obviously there was a period in time when there was so much conversation about getting more young people involved in politics.
Yeah.
And when you decided to run as MP, I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And here you are now as a member of parliament. I'm curious, and this is now maybe you, member of parliament. Do you think that progression has helped you become the person that you are, particularly when you're sitting?
Well, first of all, when you decide that you want to participate in leadership, you have to ask yourself, what role do you want to play? So I've seen the young people have called me Luchi, and they've told me, Christopher, I want to stand as member of parliament. So this is a young person, and I'm telling them, I really have nothing against you standing as a member of parliament, but then this is a very competitive game. It's a platform has so many people wanting to take up that opportunity. So if you're not yet logistically ready to start at that level, that I'm going to begin a few series of mentorship sessions with young people. You know, instead of one person calling me, telling me I want to stand in Kitwe, I would rather now do it in a more formalized way. So one of the things I'm planning to do is to try and help those that want to contest elections to just get ready, because it's not just about the messaging, it's not just about the things you want to help your community with, it's also about what do you need to run a campaign, a social media platform. You need 2 or 3 posters, you need 1 or 2 things in place. Those are things only I can share with fellow young people. And I think that for young people, if you want to stand, get in touch. There are those of us that are ready to just give you a few tips on how you can go about it.
So I remember I was talking to Honorable Mausamba now when he was mayor. And I remember he was complaining about being a mayor.
Yeah.
He was saying how, I mean, look, there's not that much power that you have. And now, obviously, you're a member of parliament. And so this question is really about you.
The 2 roles.
Yes, because you were mayor, and now you've elevated to becoming a member of parliament for a small area.
Within Kitwe.
Within Kitwe.
Yes.
Smaller than when you were mayor.
Yeah.
But is there a difference between the power that you now have and the influence that you have as a member of parliament versus when you were mayor?
Well, when I was mayor of Kitwe, if I want something done, I would simply call the town clerk for the city. Then I would call the director of engineering if it has to do with the road, if it has to do with anything to do with engineering. Luchi, 10 minutes, we discuss, do we have this in our budget? Yes, we have a bit of fuel. What road do we need to work on? We need to do A, B, C, D. 10 minutes, the decision is made. The following day, you have graders grading a road going to a farm block. I feel like the position of mayor, which is at a local level, allows someone to get things done immediately. The role of an MP is more of a lawmaker. It's more of, you are a member of a committee of parliament, so I'm a member of a local government committee. You have to wait for Madam Speaker to tell you now you can start sitting. We are meeting today in parliament at 14. There's an order paper, it's so structured. Luchi, you want to say something, Madam Speaker, I will say, Christopher, go and put in a written question. Meanwhile, this is an urgent issue in the constituency. So between the role of a mayor and the role of a member of parliament, ideally, these are 2 different roles. If you ask me, it's just that our people in the communities have not separated responsibilities. As far as they know, you are all leaders. You are all representing people. But if you ask me, I think that I could get things more done at a local level because the bureaucracy was less. Parliament is so structured. It's a bureaucratic institution. If today a resident calls me from Kamfinsa and tells me, we've not had water in Indeke for 3 days, okay? And then I raise it as an urgent matter in Parliament because there's that slot they gave us. Madam Speaker will tell me, go and put in a written question. Meanwhile, the issue has been raised, right? So the wheels rotate slower at Parliament by design because we've adopted the Commonwealth system, the Westminster system. So if you ask me, I think that there was things could be done quicker at a local level, because you at the local level, you know which ones are your priorities, you know which health facility needs more nurses. We used to do decentralization, you know which primary school needs more teachers. You are doing the things right there and then, and you are able to say, I'm mayor of Kitwe, district commissioner, can we have a meeting, we resolve this issue. You resolve it at a local level, unless where you need the money, unless where you need to tie a road. That we couldn't do, we could only rely on central government. I think pretty much that is what I think.
So I watch, some of these sessions in Parliament.
Yeah.
Some of them descend into a Jerry Springer. It's a Jerry Springer TV show where I'm just like, what is going on? Sometimes, and I remember when Bin Wampundo was here a few weeks ago, he was asked about whether he felt that the Parliament, National Assembly, the Speaker, that there was impartiality. I want to ask you a similar question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's more that can be done in terms of making it look like debates can be freely done, without it almost feeling like it's a fight between members of Parliament and the Speaker or those that sit on that chair?
Well, I've been suspended twice in that Parliament. Each suspension has been for a period of 30 days. Okay. What I've noticed in Parliament is that the ideal situation should be, here's the order paper. What are we discussing? We're discussing the railroad system in Zambia. People have different styles of debate. Okay, so when you are presiding officer, you are the Speaker of the National Assembly. You should be able to understand the dynamics at play in the House. You need to understand, okay, we have the ruling party. And remember, Luchi, how is a Speaker elected? Because a Speaker is elected. So when we all became members of Parliament in 2021, the first business of the House was to elect Speaker, first Deputy Speaker, second Deputy Speaker. So political parties field candidates. Here's the problem. This is where it all starts. This is where the mess starts. So the UPND, which is the ruling party, and had, I think, 82 members of Parliament, fielded a candidate. So whether you like it or not, let's be honest, let's have a very frank conversation. The problem starts with how a Speaker is elected. So the Speaker doesn't come from judges or you pick from a certain grouping in society. The ruling party, which has more numbers, will then be able to tell themselves, who do we think will provide leadership in Parliament? They won't say on our behalf, but clearly, it's Madam Speaker, who's the Right Honorable Nelly Muti, was a candidate for UPND, in case people have forgotten. So the UPND fielded a candidate. It's been the practice all these years from UNIP. UNIP would bring a candidate. MMD would bring a candidate. PF would bring a candidate. So whoever has the majority MPs in Parliament would get their Speaker. Now that is where the problem starts, because now the Speaker has to detach her loyalty to the political party, because whether you like it or not, she's coming from a political party. She won't say I'm coming from a political party, but we all know by structure she comes from a political party. So now what I've noticed is that in the first 2 years, there were decisions that we would all question. We would all say, but Madam Speaker, you are not providing a fair platform for all of us to debate. For instance, you would hear members of Parliament from the ruling party making noise. They would run comments, they would disturb members of Parliament. Chances are that they will not be reprimanded. Okay, we've seen it, there's a pattern. If it's coming from the left side of the Speaker, the reprimand may be followed by very, very strong words. There's been an improvement. I think, Madam Speaker, 3 years ago when she was just assuming that office, and now I've seen that there's more tolerance. She's more tolerant, but of course, once in a while, we see a certain level of biasness. But I think the problem starts with how speakers are elected.
So that's your job, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a member of Parliament.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't run away from it. Your job and the job of many MPs is, to formulate legislation.
Exactly.
Is that something that you think, and when your term of office ends in 2016,
yeah, 2026.
2026, yes. And if you don't go through afterwards, do you think that you might look back and think, I wish that I had pushed forward a motion to say, can we change how the speaker is elected?
I don't know. Yeah, there's enough time.
Yeah.
But I've been asking myself, what other alternative way can we use to pick a speaker? Okay. Unfortunately, we've adopted what the guys in Britain do, how they elect the speaker. All these practices are basically adopted practices. So we may have to quickly establish how are speakers elected in other countries? Do political parties field candidates, or do we just have ordinary citizens standing? Because there must be a way in which we manage the whole process. So is it something that we need to reflect and decide on a different way of picking a speaker? I think I'll give it thought. I've not been able to consolidate my thoughts on that matter. But what I do know is that even if a speaker is coming from a political party, the party now should be able to say, we are picking someone who will discharge their duty in a very fair manner. So the disengagement from the party should start immediately someone is picked to contest an election. So there could be a better way in which the work of the speaker could be discharged. We make laws in Parliament. We have what we call standing orders. So Parliament regulates its own standing orders. So within the standing orders, I know the process will open soon for changes to be done to our standing orders. It will be difficult to change how a speaker is elected because maybe it's not even in the standing orders. Maybe it's in the National Assembly procedures. So we'll get to that, but it's something that you've given me to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you raised what I thought was a very important question.
Yeah.
Last week. This is obviously regarding the Mufumbwe and the miners and the citizens that were killed in that operation by the police.
Yeah.
And you raised I thought it was a very, very important question that you raised in terms of government policies to address illegal mining.
Yeah.
I want us to have this conversation because it did feel like you feel like there's a better way that we can do this.
Yeah, there is a better way.
What is that way?
So we have policies in place, Luchi. We have, and I think for those that are tuned in this morning, policies are there. So I'll give you one policy. There's a policy on how to register a cooperative. So a cooperative under the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise, they'll tell you, bring 10 names, give us NRSs, blah, blah, blah. So the procedure is there if you want to register a cooperative. There's also a procedure at PACRA on how to register a company. So in terms of formalizing people's businesses, there's already a policy in place, okay? Is there a policy on how a mining license should be issued? There's already a policy. You go to Ministry of Land, Ministry of Mines, you lodge in, you say, this mine area, we think there are minerals, can we do ABCD, we want to do mining? Or are you registered, do you have a bank account? Here's your license, okay? So in terms of policies, they are already in existence. So now there's one thing missing. How is it possible that a government that has all these policies would not be able to be ahead of the people? How do you let 10,000, 30,000 people descend on a piece of land when you are government, you know where the resource is, you know that Mapatizia has lithium, you know that in Luapula, wherever there's manganese, there's also sugilite. You know from a scientific point of view. That is why people go to university. That's why people go for training. Go to Lusaka International Airport. People are flying for training sessions. They are learning the best practices in mining in Australia. There are people at Ministry of Finance that are learning about how to finance projects. Then I'm asking myself, if the policies are in place, why is policy failing? Because you see, having a policy is one thing. But if government doesn't say, what is the role of the local people in Mapatizia to participate in lithium mining? Luchi, lithium is what we use to make lithium batteries. If you are running any solar power system, there's what is called a lithium battery. And then you have the solar panels and you have an inverter. So now my question is, and what could be done better? What could be done better is, we know the policies are in place. So do we have policy implementation teams? People that by now should be able to say, wait a minute, we commissioned a $150 million geological mapping. There's a company, there's a foreign company that is going around the country trying to capture where is the resource? I mean, you can't be doing an exercise for 2 years. This is why you have a problem where the local people, they dig out something, they find, wow, what is this? This is gold. And then there's already a ready market, and then there's a rush, and then we end up losing 3 lives. According to government, we know that there are more people that have died. But the point I'm making is that the policy has failed in the context of government being ahead of the people. Young people will always want where the money is. People had to travel all the way from Lusaka, all the way from Chongwe. Immediately they heard there's gold because they know the price of gold is good. There's something that you can get value out of it. So to sum it up, Luchi, and for the benefit of our listeners, what could have been done better? Number one, we know which areas in Zambia have minerals by now. We know which groupings would want to participate. It's the local people. What is even more shocking is that the permanent secretary for the Ministry of Mines last week announced that they're looking for a large-scale mining investor to partner with, which is totally unacceptable. I think that if you look at what the locals are able to do with very basic tools, it is possible for us to be able to get that resource out. So number one, can we register cooperatives or companies that want to do mining in those local areas, number one. Number two, can we issue licenses to those particular mining, young people or elderly people that want to do mining? But we need to go a step further, Luchi. How is it that we have the skills, but we don't have people with the resources to do the actual mining? So we did approve a new law in Parliament. I think it's called the Minerals Commission Bill, which says that there shall be a fund to support artisanal mining. So if you are 10 young people you want to do mining in Mufumbwe, government is under obligation now to set up a fund and then be able to give you the money. Now, I'm against the idea of giving people money because if you give 10 young people money, they may not buy the equipment. So I'm for the idea that we use that fund to buy equipment and be able to say, can we give you equipment and then get the gold out, sell it to the Zambia Gold Company. There's a company called the Zambia Gold Company, which is a parastatal. It's owned by, I think, Ministry of Finance. I need to be sure if ZCCM-IH has got shares. So if we did that, Luchi, we won't have to wait for a rush to happen. A gold rush happens because policy has failed. People lost lives because policy has failed. Policies are there. What has failed is basically we've not been able to say, how do we bring young people on board? We give them licenses. We also give them money. We also link them to the Zambia Gold Company. Then the Zambia Gold Company will sell the gold to Bank of Zambia.
Is it also part of the failing? Is that, and this is from somebody who I've never dabbled in mining, but from the outside it feels like part of the failing is that there is very little transparency in, first of all, where these minerals are.
Okay.
And in the sense that you would expect that rather than there being a gold rush from people saying, oh, there's gold in Mufumbwe, let's all go and mine this gold, you would expect that the government would have been the first ones to say, listen, we found, in these areas, we found gold. Who is interested in mining this gold?
Yeah.
Rather than the way it looked like, which was that just everyone rushed. Whoever felt like they had a pick and a shovel decided to descend.
And the mode of transport.
Yes, and the mode of, decided to descend into this area. It almost felt like it should have been the reverse. The government identified that, there's minerals in this area.
Yeah.
If you're a small scale and you want, please come to us, we'll send you in that direction. Is that where the failing is, that it's a lack of transparency? Because I refuse to believe that the government didn't know that there was gold in that area. I refuse to believe that. Someone knew.
Someone knew. First of all, in the Ministry of Mines, we have very qualified people there. You know, I've always argued that I don't think the problem is the lack of qualifications. I worked in a mining company. When I left university, I worked in Luansha Copper Mines. I worked a bit in Mopani Copper Mines. Then I worked for another company called Atlas Copco. So I was the guy who was selling mining equipment. So I did sales for about 5 to 6 years. I would go to Kalumbila, I would go to Lumwana. I could see these are fellow Zambians running the mines. You go to Kansanshi mine, the gold plant, there's a gold plant there, the open pit mines. Yes, there would be expatriates, but you could see fellow Zambians running the mines. So in terms of skills to run the mines we have, and that is why I want to agree with you that it is not possible that a local person who has no basic knowledge of how to tell whether this is a mineral of high value or low value would know that they are minerals, yet the people with the tools, the scientific tools are there, the technology which is there. Gone are the days when we would use common sense. Now there are scientific ways of establishing a chukukulikopoku. Here we have manganese, here we have lithium. So I want to agree that maybe for me, I'm seeing a pattern here. The pattern I'm seeing, you know, we lost 3 more people in Mumbwa district last week. And I raised this issue in Parliament. I'm hoping that these are things we should permanently deal with. How is it possible that people in Mumbwa would know that there is gold in Mumbwa, yet government doesn't know? It's not possible. I think it's also, that's why I'm saying the policies are there. We know what has to be done. My question then is, how is it that people are not allowing things to be done correctly? You know you need to, you know the resource has been mapped. It's not possible for 2 years to be mapping a resource. It's not possible that for 24 months, the aerial mapping is still being done. We're trying to establish, we already know where the resource is. So from a transparency point of view, it is possible that the level of transparency has not been adequate.
Also, who are you buying? I mean, if you're mining, if you're digging into the ground, right, you need to have a market.
Yeah.
So who is this market?
So the ideal market was that all the gold should end up with Bank of Zambia.
No, in the ideal one, right?
Yeah, in the ideal one. In the ideal one, whoever gets a license, artisanal mining license, once you get that license, the first thing you do is go and start mining, take your gold to an aggregator who is supposed to be Zambia Gold Company, and then your gold goes to Bank of Zambia so that we build our reserves. That was the plan, I think 2016, 2017. Now, if the market is defined, okay, I know that in other countries you can go to a bank and sell your gold off a counter. I think it's happening it should be Tanzania or somewhere. But for us, even if you are a local person, I know Bank of Zambia said we won't be buying illegal gold. Okay, but it's still gold. It's still gold coming from people that have spent time, work to do the actual mining. So if the market is there, we should then be able to say, how many gold aggregators can we have? And this is the role of the Ministry of Mines. You can't just have an aggregator sitting in Lusaka waiting for people to come all the way from Mufumbwe. That's a long distance. Mufumbwe needs an aggregator. Mwinilunga Kasenseli mine needs an aggregator. We need an office where people are waiting in a formalized manner. You get your gold, you are a registered company, take it to the aggregator. The aggregator will sell it to Bank of Zambia. Luchi will build gold reserves. Our exchange rate will even improve.
Do you also think that there's a lack of learning from the past, learning lessons? If you look at some of what's going on where you come from, the Copper Belt,
yeah.
I believe that there are lessons that we should have learned from how mining has been done on the Copper Belt, particularly with the small-scale miners, the artisanal miners, and not made those same mistakes elsewhere. But it feels like we've made the same mistakes that we've made on the Copper Belt with every other place that we've discovered minerals.
Maybe it's also the nature of politics, and I was hoping I could touch on this issue. The way politics have been done, you've given me an opportunity as Radio Phoenix. I have 2 hours or whatever number of hours to speak. So I'm speaking here. Ideally, someone from government should be able to say, okay, let's forget Christopher Kang'ombe is an opposition MP. Let's forget which political party he's coming from. Can we just pick out 1 or 2 things that he's talking about? Someone should be able to say, we now have the mandate, we have a 5-year mandate. What things did past governments do which didn't work? Okay? So you learn lessons. What things did past governments do right that we can also enhance? For instance, the concept of a Zambia Gold Company is a good concept. One company to buy all the gold. You are in Mukushi, you have a few carats of gold, take it to the Zambia Gold Company. The Zambia Gold Company takes it to Bank of Zambia. Simple system. So if that system worked and has potential to even do more, what do you do then as government? You then enhance those systems. So there's clearly, I think sometimes we tend to lose opportunities to learn from those that are giving us ideas. It is possible for this current government to achieve more in this particular sector if they actually be able to tell themselves, what are the good practices? What have we found that was working? What have we found which is not working? You quickly pick it up and then you enhance systems.
Okay. So you said you were a member of a committee, local government.
Yes, please.
Does that committee look at CDF as an example?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at the headlines in the papers, the newspapers in particular this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've been plastered with ZAMSA and the scandals at ZAMSA.
And the millions of dollars.
Yes, I said yesterday that if they did an audit on CDF, I believe that they would find similar loopholes.
Yeah.
Right? As somebody who sits on that committee, is there a concern on your end, or it's just a concern that I have to say, look, there could be leakages here that need to seriously be looked at?
So CDF, first of all, is not a new fund. Okay, I know people have, it's normal in politics, you want to exaggerate, you want to say we are the first ones, but the fact of the matter is 1996, President Chiluba, who was our late president, then president of the Republic of Zambia, received this huge demand from members of parliament. Your Excellency, when we go back to our constituency, we can't fix small things. We can't fix this, we can't fix this. So can you help us with a fund which allows us to buy two pockets of cement to fix a bridge, or a roof has been blown off, how can we quickly fix this roof? So that's how 1996 they piloted CDF, Constituency Development Fund. It was actually an MP's fund, okay? It was money which MPs could use. You go into your constituency, you have an officer from government carrying cash. That is how it was 1996. But over the years, systems have been put in place, how to spend it, how much money should be spent. One of the things we've been looking at under CDF from our committee at Parliament are governance issues, not the money issues, so governance issues. For instance, there are too many reports, and there's an accounts committee dealing with that aspect, what you've raised. There are too many reports of people get the money, there are loans that have been given out, 200,000 kwacha, you give a company, the company doesn't pay back that money. There are also reports of a contractor who has no capacity to do any particular work, is given a contract, then they start looking for a company to actually do the work. So there have been challenges here and there. Where are the challenges? And these are the real conversations we should start having. Why is it that even when we know that there's a bad credit culture, okay, I've told Honorable Nkombo when he was Minister of Local Government, and I think this is a conversation we should have even with the new minister. For as long as loans are being given out in the presence of a politician, okay, the politician announces, no, there are now loans, okay. So the local people, those that were campaigning for these politicians, are also participating in applying for these loans. Lochi, do you expect people to pay back the money? So loans, first of all, should be removed from the component of CDF, okay, because people will never pay back. If the design is a grant to help someone get started, grants are okay. But for loans, Lochi, people will continue getting that money. They know that it's the politician holding that dummy check. They'll even say it's us who voted for you. So there's an aspect of having too many political players participating in a loan-structured empowerment fund. For me, I would rather we go back to the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission. Actually, by law, it's the only institution that should handle empowerment funds. You can't have empowerment funds at local government. You have empowerment funds at the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Child Development. You have empowerment funds at community development. My proposal, Lochi, is that can we remove all the empowerment funds from ministries that are headed by politicians? Let's put the empowerment funds into a government institution that is structured away from politics, okay? We simply say those that have got business ideas, those that need to be equipped with skills to prepare a business plan, this week there will be training, we train them, they apply for loans. Let's detach politics from these empowerment funds, and this is why for me my proposal would be the CDF component for loans and empowerment funds, remove it from CDF, push it to CEC. Youth empowerment funds at the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Art, remove them from the ministry. Let's not have Honorable Nkandu and any other person who is a politician like me handling those things. Let those things be run by Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission. Legally, they are the only institution that is supposed to deal with that. So in short, CDF has huge potential to achieve more for the communities, but it is also possible that people have not understood what CDF should do. CDF should do a 1x3 classroom block. CDF should do a maternity wing. Those small things that people want done within the community. The responsibility to do the big things. You want a district hospital to be built. You want a proper facility that allows people to access proper learning. Those are things that central government should do. I've built a skills training center in Kamfinsa using CDF. It's a small thing because the budget could not support a big thing. But government should come in to be able to say, okay, Honorable MP for Kamfinsa, you've done one skills training center at Masuzio in Indeke. Here's now more money that could build a bigger thing. So government should not run away from their bigger responsibility in doing the bigger things.
Here's a question from Titus. I'm going to edit it slightly.
Yeah.
Because he's touching on the gold mines, as I believe that even those in government know what should be done. But deliberately, now here's the real question, deliberately, some people know that the orderly way of doing things won't make them rich, hence the confusion. This isn't just in the gold sector, but even you could make the argument that even in other areas, for example, CDF as well, it's the same thing, that unfortunately people want to get rich. And that's why you have these situations where there are people that are not doing the right thing.
Well, illegality will always be there, even where systems have been put in place. Even the most developed countries, there's still people doing illegal things. So I'm not saying that we'll reach a stage where all illegality will be done away with. People will always, that is why the law exists, to deal with, to curb any illegal activities, to curb things that have to do with illegality. So, Titus, we're not saying illegality will never be there. What we are saying is that as those individuals decide to pursue an illegal route, they decide that, no, we are going to do it differently from what government is saying. That is where policies, systems, that is where now government says, wait a minute, we have gold in Mufumbwe, we have gold in Mumbwa, we will not allow you to do this, okay? And that is where the proactiveness comes in. The issue we've established, I think all of us, is that no one will question government on the existence of a policy. What is a policy? A policy is a guide. To do this, you have to do this. To do this, you have to do this. So the guide is there, Titus. So for as long as people want to pursue illegal things, it is the proactiveness that has not been there. You can't wait for 50, 30,000 people to descend on a particular forest and then start doing the mining. And you know there was cash there. You dig out the gold. Like I said, there were young people from my constituency calling me. Yeah, there were young people calling me from my constituency to say, what are you doing in Mufumbwe? Okay, these are young people that want to make money. So what is the role of government? You know that people have the desire to participate. They are local people. And I'm hoping, Titus, and for the benefit of those watching, or those listening, I'm hoping that what the permanent secretary said last week will not be implemented. He said they are looking for a large-scale investor. I don't agree. This is why you have people complaining. Government is able to design something for our local people to be able to participate in a formal manner.
Someone asks, is it possible for a government to create something that will allow locals to participate without having to involve an investor?
Yes, it's possible. Yes, yesterday there's a platform that I've created. We are calling it Ideas for Development. Okay, Luchi, we're calling it Ideas for Development because we realize, regardless of our political affiliations, we all want a better Zambia. So on that platform, we have people from different political parties where we exchange ideas. These are WhatsApp groupings. One of the things we've been discussing in one of our WhatsApp groups has been, how much do we really need to run a gold mine? Because we might be discussing $5 million. We might be discussing $10 million. We might be asking $30 million. Lochi, it's not always that we have to look to foreign investors to support us. Maybe why we always run to foreign investors, it's because it's cheaper for Chinese nationals to get money from China. The cost of money is lower in foreign countries. So if a company is set up here in Zambia owned by the Chinese, they'll go back to China, submit a bid. All they need maybe is $30 million. $30 million will be enough to set up that mine. The Chisamba project, the solar project which was commissioned recently, are you aware that there's a bank, there's a local bank, I think it's Stanbic, that has put in $75 million, okay, into that Chisamba solar project. So I'm asking myself, if we need $100 million for a proper gold mine in Mufumbwe, are we saying we can't formalize it and then submit a business plan to one of these banks or to any government entity that is able to give us those millions of dollars, and then we are able to raise that money? For those that are not aware, government gets what are called mining tax receipts. Now, what are mining tax receipts? Every 3 months, FQM pays its taxes to government. Every 3 months, KCM pays its taxes, Mopani pays, NFCA, the mining companies in Luansha, they all pay taxes. Those are mining tax receipts. They pay in dollars. They export their copper, mining tax receipts are paid. So I'm asking myself, is it not possible that government can decide that, okay, we've raised $500 million in the first quarter of the year from mining tax receipts. These are figures that are already before Parliament, so I'm not speaking from without. So I'm asking myself, we have the resource in Mufumbwe, we have the lithium in Mapatizia, we have the manganese existing in Luapula. Is it not possible that government can just dedicate just one payment? Mining tax receipts. We can't just say, can we take out $300 million, we try running one mine. That is the conversation that I'm taking to Parliament, and I'm assuring the listeners that if not this week Wednesday, next week Wednesday, I'm going to take this matter to Parliament. The conversation is going to be, how much does it cost to run a gold mine? What skills do we need to run a gold mine? What amount of money can be raised locally to run, whether it's a gold, manganese, copper, or any other form of mine? I know copper mining is capital intensive. Copper mining, you need to haul out a lot of material, especially the figures that FQM puts in. But for a gold mine, in Vubu, young people are doing gold mining. It's possible that we can do it at a very lower scale.
Okay. Yeah. There's another conversation I want to have with you. This relates to the infamous Bill number 7.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard this in our menu. So I'm going to play this bite for you. But this is a statement from the chief government spokesperson. Just have a listen.
Okay.
That the parameters for why the participation have been met, then it becomes incumbent upon the mover of the motion to defer the bill, within deliberate consideration that right things have been done, to consider bringing it to Parliament back Bill 10. The deferment, therefore, means that a bill has been set aside with a view that it be brought back. Otherwise, if that was not the intention, it would have been withdrawn.
So I think from a lot of us, I think we all thought we've moved on from
done and dusted.
From Bill 7. That doesn't seem to be the case. The government seems to think and believe that all they need to do is reconsultate, and then everything is fine. What's when you hear statements like this from the chief government spokesperson? Obviously, there was the ruling from the speaker last week. Does it make any sense? Why is there an insistence to do something that a lot of people seem to believe should be done and dusted?
Bill 7, Lochi, you've given me a few minutes to talk here. What I said today, I should be consistent even in future. Okay, you don't want to come and ask me, Christopher, you want to be president of Zambia. This is what you said on Let the People Talk on the 15th of July. So those of us who aspire for public office should adopt one practice or one principle, the principle of consistency. Okay? Consistency in the context that if we want to amend a document called the Constitution, there's a law in Zambia called the Inquiries Act. Okay? So the Inquiries Act, as the name suggests, it's to inquire. There's a reason why the Inquiries Act was put in place. It's a tool which the government can use to go and extract facts. You are looking for information, you simply say, guys, we have the Inquiries Act. Okay, let's quickly constitute a team that will go and gather all the facts and then decide to consolidate a report, and then the report becomes a public document, and then the public document tells you amend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 provisions, and then take those provisions to Parliament. So the Constitutional Court, which is the highest court, did guide, and I'm calling it guidance, did guide that, look, the courts are not saying they want to interfere with the internal processes of Parliament. That's not what the Constitutional Court is saying. The Constitutional Court is not saying we are taking away powers of Parliament to discuss the Constitution, to amend the Constitution. No, 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 far from it. What the Constitutional Court is saying is that before you start your internal processes in Parliament, the practice in Zambia, because you see there's a practice. 1973, there was a commission of inquiry. There was a commission that was set up to review the Constitution. We had the Mvunga Review Commission. We had the 1996 Mwanakatwe Review Commission to deal with the Constitution. We had the 2004, what was that, Kang'ombe Review Commission. I was a first-year student at CBU. I participated in that commission. We had the National Constitutional Conference, NCC, here in Lusaka. We had the National Dialogue Forum 2019. The history tells us that before you do any amendment, you must have a report. That report should guide you on the things that should be in the bill. So what the Constitutional Court simply said was that the process that has been pursued is unconstitutional. They are not saying we are taking away your powers as Parliament. So the ruling by Madam Speaker, I think it was talking about an internal process in Parliament. But because the Concord has guided, what the Concord is basically saying is that since the constitutional making process did not capture this aspect, the aspect of having a team to extract submissions from the people, the whole process is unconstitutional. Now, I will not go into details with what LAS has done. LAS, the Law Association of Zambia, has taken the matter to court. They've sued Madam Speaker. I don't know, I'm hearing that constitutional lawyer John Sangwa has also taken another matter to court. I don't know if it's the same document, I've not seen it. But you see, all this could be avoided. We are going to court back and forth, waiting for a ruling from Madam Speaker, ignoring the fact that there's a history of our country. The history of our country is that if you want to touch the Constitution of Zambia, you are required by practice, by the procedures of the Inquiries Act to inquire, to go and have a platform for media owners, for instance, for you guys in the media to be able to say from us as media houses, there's a provision in the Constitution that makes our work difficult, okay? For those in local government, I'm coming from local government. I was president for an association called Local Government Association of Zambia. We should be called and asked, on the articles that deal with local government, what things can we enhance or delete? That's consultation. You then go to the civil society organizations, you tell them, oh, civil society, you also have issues in the Constitution. What things do you think we need to put? Does the president have too much powers? Should we increase the powers? How should the Auditor General be appointed? What should be the qualifications for a secretary to cabinet? Those are things you talk to people and then you consolidate. So what we should be discussing for me is that can we really fail to talk to each other over a law called the Constitution of Zambia? I think a platform has to be created so that the role of the members of the public is captured.
Is it an arrogance then from the government to continue to insist that, listen, we'll bring it back? It's just been
unfortunately, I'm seeing a pattern. So when we count the number of MPs in Parliament, to amend an act of Parliament, these are basic laws, Local Government Act, Public Finance Management Act, these are basic laws. These you only need 56, a simple majority. 56 MPs, Luchi, you can amend any act of Parliament. But for the Constitution, you need 2/3. So I was trying to count the numbers. 84, is it 85? UPND has got 85 constituencies there. They are occupying as a ruling party. They have 8 who are nominated, so 85 plus plus 8, that's maybe around 90 something. Then you have independent MPs that are working with UPND. Then you have a few PF MPs that are working with UPND. So in terms of numbers, maybe one of the reasons why UPND has insisted on proceeding has to do with the fact that they know that they have the 2/3. But you see, the issue is not whether UPND has the 2/3 or they don't have. The issue for me, and this is my challenge to government, is that don't consult government departments, because what Honorable Kasone did, you may have remembered 2 months ago, she went round Luapula, she was calling government departments and a few organizations that are not government departments. Are you telling me, Luchi, that an officer of government can tell the minister in a consultative meeting that the process you are pursuing is not okay? I don't think that any person would do that. So where is the insistence coming from? I think it has everything to do with the fact that from a 2/3 majority point of view, UPND has the numbers, so they are insisting that they'll proceed. But I think that the issue is not whether they have the numbers or not. I would advise government that it is not too late, okay? It is not too late to be able to say, okay, the guidance has come from the Crown Court. His Excellency the President did guide the Minister of Justice to say, okay, defer this matter. The request from civil society has been just withdraw it and restart the whole process. We don't know how the outlook looks, but from a numbers point of view, they can achieve anything they want in Parliament.
Is there time? Is there time, and is it a priority? Because that's the thing. Well, every time I do this show,
yeah,
and we talk about the Constitution and people call in, the thing that they always say is not a priority. The big priority issues are load shedding,
yeah,
the cost of living. Those are the two big priority areas. This is not a priority. So, yeah, there is an assistance, which obviously involves funds.
Yeah.
It involves, time before the next election. Is there time? Is there money? And how do you convince a citizenry to say, we want to reintroduce this? There is time, there is money, but guess what? There's still load shedding and the cost of living is still high on the other end.
So this is a lesson for all of us, even those of us who are in opposition and are looking for a role to play in governance. One of the lessons that we have to learn for all of us, especially our generation, you are in your late 30s, you are in your early 40s, you are in leadership. It's key that when you get the fundamental issues out of the way, it's possible to also do the extra things. It's possible when things are properly managed, when there's enough food security, when your farmers, when the maize has been bought. Luchi, farmers produced, we're told 3.6 million tons of maize. As I sit here, government hasn't yet started buying maize. They told some people in a certain area that no, the moisture content for the maize is too high, so we can't buy the maize. The fact of the matter is that they haven't just yet prepared the money. You can't say moisture content. It has everything to do with government not yet being ready to buy. So if those things are sorted out, Luchi, it's possible for government to even say, okay, the big issues have been attended to. Can we also now look at this particular provision of the Constitution? Should a by-election, should we file fresh nominations when one guy who wants to stand decides to withdraw from the race? If you have 5 people that are contesting and then one guy along the way says, me, I will not contest, should we redo the nominations? Those things then become normal conversations. Issues to do with delimitation. Okay, Kawata is getting so much money for development. Kanchiwia is getting so much money for development. Should we give equal amounts of CDF? Is the issue really CDF, or the issue is there must be a rural development plan? Okay, because me as Christopher Kang'ombe, from my experience in leadership, my proposal would be, by now we know where the poverty levels are high. By now we know where, in terms of access to social amenities, is better. By now we know that there are more tarred roads in this particular part of Zambia than this particular part of Zambia. By now we should have profiled our country so that that profile then guides us. If we are allocating money in the national budget, we should not just focus on CDF. We should be able to say, because the rural part of Zambia is underdeveloped, because Sikongo is underdeveloped, because Mpika is underdeveloped, because we've got a challenge in this particular area called Nalolo. I was in Nalolo. You enter Kalabo, you are still in Nalolo. You are in Mongo, you are still in Nalolo. Then you realize, what can we do better? I don't think that CDF will equalize these problems we are discussing. I think what will resolve our problems, what will sort out these challenges we are facing, are issues to do with can we allocate more resources to places that need more development. So the conversation should be, should we create more constituencies, or should we take more resources into areas that are underdeveloped? So, well, government will justify, but I think the reason people are complaining is because there are these developmental gaps. Lochi, we sort out the developmental gaps. The extra things, it's easy for people to say, even these we should have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you read that before you sign it, because obviously we get into the habit sometimes of just signing documents. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. If you want to read that,
This is what I'm taking to Parliament.
Okay.
What we were discussing.
Okay, all right.
So I'm taking to
You
Parliament.
were just signing
No.
without knowing what you were signing.
So I'm taking a motion to Parliament, and the motion reads that government should assume ownership and operational control of gold mining activities in Mufumbwe. Okay? So in short, we don't want to hear that business of a large-scale investor. We're saying government should own, meaning we don't want to hear a foreign company has been given that mine. So this is the motion I'm taking to Parliament. They need it signed, and so I've had it signed, and I'm hoping that it could be tabled, if not this week, then next week. Okay. Yeah. This is how practical we want to be about it. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take a little break so that you can drink some water. We'll come back.
Can I capture that? Let me just.
We want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And if you want to send a text, you can 0978 895 895. If you want to call us, you can as well. 226-841 0978 895 895. Back shortly.
The community news. The headlines: Lundazi man loses property worth thousands in an inferno, and KZF trains over 2,000 women and men in climate change.
Thank you.
With the community news, I am Paddy Murando. Property worth over 40,000 kwacha has been lost in an inferno in Mwase area of Lundazi district in the eastern province. A hammer mill, a 20-liter container of diesel, and 10 by 50 kilograms of maize bran, all valued at 41,200 kwacha, got burned when a grass shelter belonging to Boniface Ziambo, 38, of Kapumbu village in Mwase chiefdom caught fire. Eastern Province Police Commissioner Robertson Mwemba says the fire is suspected to have been started in the early hours of the 13th of July 2025 at Kapumbu village, and the case was reported at Mwase Police Post at around 10 hours yesterday. Brief facts of the matter are that Ziambo, who operates a grinding mill business in a grass-thatched shelter few meters away from the main house, worked till evening and secured the door of the property by locking it. 30 minutes past midnight, he told police that he was awakened by his neighbor, who had gone outside his house to relieve himself, that his shelter was on fire. Efforts to put out the fire failed, as it had already engulfed the whole grass structure. Investigations into the matter have since commenced. Keepers Zambia Foundation, KZF, a non-governmental organization, has trained over 2,000 women and men in Rufunsa and Chongwe districts in Lusaka province in climate change as a way to reduce climate effects on the environment. KZF Program Officer Lisa Nyirongo also revealed that the project has come to an end after 5 years of implementation, with over 1,000 households both in Chongwe and Rufunsa now using traditional cook stoves as one of the alternative energy solutions. She said over 50 women and youths have also been trained in climate justice advocacy, enabling them to facilitate meetings on climate-smart solutions in communities. Ms. Nirongo added that the women and youths have also managed to participate in district and national agricultural shows for the past 2 years, adding that this year they came out as winners for exhibiting climate-smart local solutions, such as the traditional cook stoves, local seeds, and food at community level. To end the community news, the headlines once again. Lundazi man loses property worth thousands in an inferno. and KZF trains over 2,000 women and men in climate change. Ends the community news. Keep listening to Let the People Talk. The community news.
It's 10:07. Welcome back to Let the People Talk. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. 226841 as well as 0978-895-895. Those are the two numbers you can use. Our guest this morning is the Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa. His name is Honorable Christopher Kang'ombe. 226841 0978-895-895. I want to read you a couple of text messages first. So this is from Kath. Kath says, well articulated, Honorable, what an opportunity has been placed in Zambia. May they own this process and benefit the country. Placing it in the hands of investors is fearing to step up and better our country through the resources. A question to you, you've good ideas. Why is it that you and your party MPs at times use anger, and in the case of your close friend, even use inappropriate language when you have brilliant ideas? Don't you think this also hinders your effectiveness? That's from Kat.
Well,
I think we know who the best
I won't start discussing. I avoid discussing personalities. We are built differently. We approach matters differently. I would rather we focused on the issues. Opposition, I think, Kathy, give me the benefit of doubt. Pick out the issues I'm raising. I'm raising issues of policy. I'm raising issues to do with how best can we aggregate our gold, how best can we place young people to participate in this thing. I'm discussing issues of the history of our country around constitution making. There's a history we have adopted. So this is consistent with how I've been approaching issues from the first time I appeared on radio when I was a councillor at the age of 21. So Kathy, for me, I think that there is still a way in which we can still achieve what we want to achieve by talking to each other. And that is why, for me, I'm advocating for a society where we talk to each other about issues affecting our country. Politics will always be there. Next year there will be elections. People will be campaigning. But what will not change are challenges facing our people unless we face them together.
James asks, this is on the gold rush.
Yeah.
Does the MP know that the buyers of gold were from other countries? Like you sell immediately. So he seems to believe that the buyers were from other countries.
Well, I'm aware that there's information that has been made available, I think through various people that actually went into Mufumbwe, that there was ready market. Congolese came into Zambia, people from Tanzania came into Zambia. We had people coming in from as far as Angola to buy gold from Mufumbwe. And that tells you, it tells you the problem, okay? It confirms my argument. My argument is that in a country where you already have a policy on mining, in a country where you already have a system on how mining licenses should be issued, you can't wait for foreigners to come and offer money to our local people who are digging for gold. Where was Zambia Gold Company? Where was Ministry of Finance? Where was Ministry of Mines? Where was the Bank of Zambia? Because Bank of Zambia is supposed to buy all that gold. So he's asking me, am I aware? I'm aware, and I'm acknowledging that that confirms my argument. You and I probably should then agree that despite having policies in place, we seem not to know how to resolve our own problems. So I'm basically saying, yes, I'm aware.
Okay. Marlon is in Chilawambo. He says, I like your curiosity, and I think it's very important to separate loans and grants in local government CDF on account of that local politicians are using, and I've seen CDF as their only benefit for being in the opposition for more than 20 years, to an extent that they are giving those monies to people who didn't even apply for it. So this is a wrongful use of CDF. That's number one. Secondly,
And the audit queries are there. They've proved that.
Secondly, my humble appeal to all lawmakers is that they come up with a bill which will allow and reflect the will of the people by separating the power of the legislature and judiciary from that of the executive, by removing the oath of allegiance from public officers such as anti-corruption, DEC, the DPP as well, on account that we've seen former cabinet ministers who served from previous administration being prosecuted, but what we don't see is current members of parliament, current politicians, being investigated.
Well, this is the fourth year in office of the guys in power. The last text is basically saying, can we see more people holding positions today being questioned on some of the wrong things that they are doing? That will give the fight against corruption some more value, some more relevance, and people will then be able to say, well, we now believe that the current government actually believes in the fight against corruption. There's a report, I think 2 years ago, Luchi, which revealed that there were 4 ministers that were being investigated. That information has not been made public. So those are things that I expect that government can make public so that it answers that, that text that has come from that caller. There was another text regarding someone agreeing that can we separate loans and grants. Okay, but ultimately things to do with money, okay? One of the things I've come to learn, okay, is that it is possible for government to empower its citizens without actually involving politicians, okay? Because government is government. Whether Christopher is there, whether His Excellency President Hakainde is there or not, government will always be there. Systems must be put in place. And that is why, for me, I want to be put on record, okay? I've seen these empowerment programs for many years. I've seen governments trying to empower people for as long as the empowerment is coming from politicians, for as long as it's the minister saying, tomorrow we'll be handing over checks. Lochi, people wake up in the morning, they go and vote for you, they campaign for you, you become a member of parliament. The following week, you are giving out empowerment loans from government. Tell me who's going to pay back that money. The sense of entitlement comes in. What I expect government to do is, okay, we have an institution under the laws of Zambia. The CEEC Act, Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission Act of 2006, which was amended in 2008, empowers the CEC to deal with these matters. No politicians. That should be a government program. There's a DG at CEC. This is the person who should go into Chilawombwe and handle empowerment loans because that money has to be paid back. The money is paid back and then we're able to assist others. The other problem we have, Luchi, with empowerment funds is that there's no database. A Peter Chilufya can get a loan in Kitwe, okay? Same NRC. The same Peter Chilufya can proceed to Luapula, okay? To go and say, loan. That person will apply for another loan. There's no common database that will say, Peter Chilufya, wait a minute. You got an empowerment fund under Kamfinsa. Why are you asking for empowerment funds under Chifunabuli? Those are things we must be discussing. Otherwise, we'll keep putting money into a pot called empowerment funds, yet we are not helping the country make progress.
Let me go to the phone lines. 226-410-978-895-895. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir. What's your name?
Good morning, Mr. Makondo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable.
Yes, sir.
When you are talking about the mining, you've been asked by Lucy that you are aware that it's the foreigners actually that were buying the gold. You've said very well there. Yes, you are very much aware of that.
Yeah.
Now, are you also aware that actually government has put in emphasis building about the 2 centers, following the right procedure of
Mr. Makonda, are you still there? Okay. Mr. Makonda, are you still there? Okay, I think he's gone. I'm such a shame. I wanted to hear the rest of this. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning, sir. What's your name? Okay, go ahead, Vice President.
I am quite precious much, okay.
Precious, sorry, your line is not very clear, but here's what I did here. So there was words of encouragement, but I think the other key question was that Parliament Radio, for whatever reason, is not...
Yeah, it's not running.
Yeah, it's not running.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? Do you know? Is this something that you've queried?
Well, we were told there was a technical fault, but I think we've lost quite a number of days without having the signal sent through. But I will find out. But Precious, I think the message has been gotten. You still want a platform that allows you to hear what we are discussing in Parliament.
Okay.
Yeah.
226-841-0978-95. Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir. What's your name?
I am Kaima Shukeni, and good morning to our listeners in Chingola. The message. There's a message here.
Also, you can give them my number. You can give them my number.
So which number?
The 09, my number. 0966. 43
09
36.
36.
Mr. Looney is upset that he hasn't received his funding. But that is an issue because it's something that I've heard before, that there are some people who apply but they aren't given, and then the belief is that it's politically motivated.
Well, first of all, there's a process for applying for these empowerment funds. So the first stage is you go to the office of the Ward Development Committee. You get what is called an application form. After you fill in the application form, you then go to someone within the community who is a member of the Ward Development Committee to endorse your application, to say, someone should be able to endorse and confirm. Then you take it to a CDF committee where councillors, members of the Ward Development Committee, and the MP will then sit to say we are approving these names, and these names then go to the council. Then the council writes the ministry for approval. Now, this is why I keep saying the empowerment funds, because you see, let's go back to the objective. The objective is to empower people, get them out of poverty. Okay, you can only empower people and get them out of poverty, first of all, if you equip them with skills to manage the money. Okay, you train them, and then you give them the money, and then you make sure that they use the money correctly. Three things. And this is why I keep saying, these politicians who are working with the local authority in handling CDF, Ward Development Committee, CDF Committee, the council, okay? There's no one there who's trained to do what is called credit management. Ward Development Committee, the CDF Committee, even the council. There's no one who is trained to manage credit, because when you give out a loan, 200,000 kwacha, that is credit. That is money meant to build a business, okay? So what I've proposed, and this is something I've been discussing with my colleagues in Parliament, why can't we employ an empowerment officer in each constituency working under CEEC? Because this is a credit institution. The Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission is a credit institution. Their job is to deal with money, train people, give them skills, and then help them manage, if it's 100,000, help them grow that money. So why not employ an officer within the constituency who then will deal with this issue away from the politics? For me, I'm saying politics should be for policy guidelines. Christopher Kang'ombe and all those who are in public service as politicians should be reviewing how much money are we putting into empowerment. Our role should end there. Our role should end at deciding how much money goes to each constituency. That should be our role in parliament. The issue of who should now benefit, that should not be our business. Okay? We should now leave it to an established government institution which is away from politics. If we did that, Luchi, Mr. Nguni will get his empowerment funds. Mr. Malambo will get his empowerment funds. Mr. Chilufya will get his empowerment funds because there will be no conversation around who do you know.
And those who don't get will know that it's because of their business plan.
Exactly.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, sir. Okay, thank you. What's your name? Okay. Mr. Ignatius, you're live on radio. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, my elder brother. How are you? Thank you. Thank you.
Other young politicians that are serving in parliament, they want to hear to radio and articulate issues the way you are articulating. You spent almost an hour on that program. I've not heard you say UPND that you are attacking the challenges that the country is facing and suggesting solutions there. What is supposed to be the whole politics should be done. Unlike what most of your colleagues, even young ones are fortunate. The one in Peter Central, the one in Akonde, and the others who are in jail now. What they do when they open their mouth is to attack HH, attack UPS. Instead of bringing out ideas, well, now we are going to sort out our programs. And I want to say, I agree with 90% of the things that you are saying. However, my question is this. You talked about Bill 7.
Yeah.
And why the phone calls are...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, I couldn't have phrased it any better.
Yeah, so
Ignatius wants your response.
He's talked about the history, but before we do the history, in 1993, let me start with the Constitution. So there are about 10 articles in our current Constitution, and I hope people will pay attention to this issue because I think it will deal with the issue of the burial of the former president. So there are about 8 or 10 articles from Article 100. If you go to our Constitution, Kubale Kutika Muyeku Article 100, Article 100, 101, up to, I think, Article 108. There are articles that deals with issues of the presidency, meaning how a president should be elected. It also deals with issues to do with the qualifications of a president, powers of a president. There are about 10 articles. Of all those 10 articles, there's no article on a former president. Okay, that's the Constitution, the Supreme Law. So the Supreme Law doesn't discuss a former president. Now, there's an act of parliament. There's a law, what we may call subsidiary legislation, which is the benefits of former presidents. It's an act of parliament, meaning it's something that can easily be amended. So in 1993, President Chiluba, through cabinet, took to parliament a law called the benefits of former presidents. So the law was couched such that there were 12 benefits of a former president, meaning once you leave office, 12 benefits are given to you. That is in the law, 1993 law. Number 1, you are entitled to a house, 3 maids, 3 vehicles. There are about 12 health insurance, and there's also the state shall spend money, expenses shall be met by the state in the event of a funeral. Those are the 12 benefits of a former president. Now, in 1998, the law was amended, okay, Luchi, and for the benefit of my Ignatius. The 93 law simply said you are a former president. It didn't talk about active politics. It simply said you are a former president who will give you 12 benefits. But 1998, unfortunately, the law was amended to introduce the word active politics, meaning those 12 benefits now become conditional, meaning if you go back to active politics, the 12 benefits are withdrawn, okay? And they are not saying we're withdrawing benefit number 10, but retaining benefit number 12. No, all the 12 are withdrawn. So His Excellency, the President, former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, returned to active politics. We all remember, I think 2023, if my memory serves me correctly. The 12 benefits were no longer subsisting as at the time that the president was returning to active politics. He left Zambia without the 12 benefits, went for medication into South Africa without the 12 benefits, died in South Africa, unfortunately, without the 12 benefits. So, Honorable, the submission by the caller is there's a history of where you bury. I think we all understand the dynamics around this issue. Right now, the matter is in court. Attorney General has taken the matter to court, asking the court to order that the body be brought back to Zambia. So with that background I've given, I hope Shilanga, who called in, appreciates the fact that this is a person, a former president. He's the only former president who died without the benefits. President Chiluba died with the benefits. President Kaunda died with the benefits. President Rupia Banda died with all the 12 benefits. It's only President Edgar Lungu who died without benefits. So those are the technicalities. And I don't want to go into the conversation which is happening in court, because those things are now in court. In court now there are arguments. No, practice. But, oh, no, this person was head of state, so we must bury in Zambia. Those are conversations that will now be determined by court.
Is there a moral argument, though?
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
So
away from the point.
So away from...
And I didn't want to ask this question. I didn't want to go again.
I didn't want to go into that issue.
But I'll ask you anyway.
Yeah,
is
well...
there a moral... I mean, I've said from the very beginning that from a moral perspective, it just... anyone who was president should be buried in their country. It doesn't matter where, unless you're living in exile, unless there are other... But just generally, none of that is subsistence. I just think that it just doesn't feel right. Well,
you and I didn't want to go into that conversation, but I mean, it's a public issue now. There's no harm in talking about it very quickly. The family had no decision to bury in South Africa. Let's be very clear, okay? It's one thing that we are all ignoring. Let's not change the dynamics or the facts on the table. The facts on the table are that when ECL died, the family even provided their own plane to bring the body to Zambia. Let's be honest. Let's have an honest conversation. The honest conversation is that the family was determined to come and bury Edgar Chagwa Lungu in Zambia. We all know what happened. What happened was the state said, it's us who have to pick the body from South Africa. It's us who are going to organize the funeral program. The family said, no, there was this wish from Edgar Chagwa Lungu that person A, person B should not attend the funeral program. That is where the problem started. If today, and this is my prayer as a young person in leadership, I didn't want this matter to go to court. If the issue is, should we bury in Zambia, and the family has said, we are ready to bury in Zambia, but the reason we've decided to bury in SA, it's because of reason number 1, 2, 3. If those reasons are dealt with, Luchi, I would be a proud Zambian if we buried President Edgar Chagwa Lungu in Zambia. My wish, my prayer is that if burial could be done in Zambia, that would be the best. But unfortunately, that activity to happen there are things that the family has put on record. We can't ignore those things. We ignore those things, we'll keep having this conversation, yet people would want to pay their last respect. So my view is that, is it possible for His Excellency, the President, who's in office right now, to not to be present at burial, delegate to our Honor the Vice President or any other government official? We don't know how that will be done, but clearly I hope that the caller understands that I've given you another historical perspective. Edgar Chagwa Lungu is the only president who died without those 12 benefits.
Is there a compromise, though? I mean,
it's possible to compromise.
This is what it is now. That there has to be a compromise from both. And that compromise...
Well, I don't know with the environment in court. I don't know what's happening in court. You know, if I sue you, Luchi, it may even kill the opportunity that may be there to talk to each other. It's not the family that has gone to court. Let us be clear. It's not the family that has gone to court. It's the state. The Zambian government has sued the Lungu family to say you can't bury in South Africa. The family is saying the only reason we are burying in South Africa is because you don't want to agree with us managing the funeral program. Edgar Chagwa Lungu died without the 12 benefits of a former president.
But okay, we're not going there. And there's just one thing I want to ask. There's just one thing. Again, these are unfortunately they become public documents. The minute they go to court, they become public documents. In the document that they filed in court, there was one particular line that I thought was very interesting. This line about how our intention, especially over the past couple of weeks, is that we become resident of a different country. Does that? And when I saw that, when I read that, I thought, yeah, that's the end. I mean, there is a determination now that the intention really is just to bury elsewhere. But when you read that whole document that they presented, the family, does that almost tell you that there might not be a compromise here? That we've reached that stage that really it's not going to happen?
Well, I don't think that this is a matter that is beyond us as a country. I don't think that we can fail to resolve this challenge. If the issue is, this is a former president, let's bury in Zambia, what will be the terms, what will be the conditions for burial to take place in Zambia? If that is the genuine intention, if all of us are saying that's the primary objective, then let's also ensure that the things that the family is also, because really at the end of the day, yes, the country is mourning. Luchi, we've all lost loved ones. It hits most the family. Whether you like it or not, whether you're discussing a politician, we've buried former MPs in Kitwe, we've buried former presidents. I remember when we buried President Mwanawasa. I remember when we buried President Sata. It hit most the family. The rest of us, yes, it also affects us, but it hits most the family.
And healing doesn't end.
No, you can't choose.
Until, to be fair, healing doesn't end until you bury, because then you can begin the process of beginning to heal. But if there is this gap between the burial, then it feels like you're in perpetual pain. Yeah.
And also, society can't decide when the healing happens. You can't say, no, you can't, unfortunately. So we can share our opinions. What we are sharing our opinions, but the real fact of the matter is there's a family that has lost a loved one. Yes, he was former president. What could be the compromise? Has the window closed for a compromise to be reached? I don't think the window has been closed.
Okay.
For me, a settlement can be agreed. We bury in Zambia on conditions that the family will set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a voice note from Yamuni.
Good morning and good morning, Honorable Kang'ombe.
Good morning.
This is Yamuno, a good friend. We used to interact when you used to come to KCM from Atlas Copco. So very quickly, thank you very much for your thoughts this morning. And I want to quickly submit that for our good politics, I strongly feel PF should have rebranded around people like yourself. But back to the issue of the things that you've spoken about this morning. Some of them actually have been happening for a long time, including when PF was in government.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you spoke to them when PF was in government, but nevertheless, we still have them today. I just wanted to find out from you this morning how much one-on-one interactions or discussions have you had with the relevant authorities in the many issues that you brought up this morning before you bring them on a public platform like this one. Thank you.
Very important phone call, very important message. The message is there are things happening today that are of historical nature that even the current government appears to also be doing or not correcting, okay? So one of the roles I have performed, at least I'm on record, I'm a proud member of parliament, that every time I feel there's an issue that we need to put on record, I place it on the records of parliament. So for instance, I did argue in parliament that you can't have ZESCO, the power utility company, producing power, exporting 560 megawatts of power when there's a challenge in the country to do with power. I'm on record. That's how come the minister started saying, no, we are exporting less, we are now doing what? So we put them on the spot. I'm on record. I'm also on record challenging mining companies. Why should mining companies fail to set up a power plant the way Dangote does? Dangote Luchi produces power using a coal-fired plant, okay? We didn't have time to discuss the energy sector. Maybe I'll use this as an opportunity. So if you go to Ndola, there's a company called Dangote Cement. They get their coal from Mamba, transport it into Ndola. They run, the coal runs the engines produce electricity, okay? I'm on record asking FQM, asking KCM, asking Mopani, why can't you do the same? Why can't you set up coal-fired power plants which can allow you to generate your own power so that ZESCO doesn't sell the entire electricity they produce, the bulk of it, into the mining sector? Yes, this is bulk supply of power. But let's assume we sold the mines 50% of their power. FQM needs 400 megawatts. Why not give FQM 200 megawatts, and then the extra 200, they set up their own powered plant? And then the rest of the power is given to domestic consumers, industry, these who can't afford to set up these powered plants. So to the one who sent the voice note, Christopher Kang'ombe is on record when he notices there's something that has to be done as a suggestion. We want to change society and how we do politics. How do we do politics? Yes, election time we'll discuss, this one has failed, but we are away from an election. We are saying, I have a mandate to pass the national budget as an MP. I have a mandate to make laws as an MP. I have a mandate to provide oversight, checks and balances. Have I failed to do that in Parliament? I haven't failed. I'm on record. Even today, I've just signed another motion I'm taking to Parliament. So to answer your question, at least on the things that I think have to be done, I'm on record. I'm actually on record asking government, why should Mopani get goods and services from contractors and not pay within the 30 days as per contract? Can we introduce a penalty fee? Can we introduce what we may call interest payment? Meaning if the 30 days elapses, for the extra 30 days that will be accumulating, Mopani will have to pay interest to the suppliers and contractors. At least I'm on record. I'm also on record saying we don't have incentives for local businesses. People that want to set up businesses in Zambia, they don't have incentives. They don't have that thing that will motivate them to set up a business. So I'm on record, and I'll do more, because really the issue is not whether it worked 30 years ago. The issue is we have people that are waiting for leadership in Zambia. We have to provide that leadership.
Can I ask how far, so other than putting forward the motion, but was there an acceptance?
On which issue?
For example, let's take the Mopani issue. Was there an acceptance that we should introduce a penalty? And so we're going to introduce this penalty? So is that a conversation that's still happening within? So
the response from government was, no, instead of us getting involved in the agreement between Company A and Mopani, we are just going to have a meeting with Mopani, and then when we have a meeting with Mopani, we'll ask them how far they are with making payments. Meaning, the issue of interest payments on late payments, okay? The same way if I borrow money from a friend, well, here's a 10,000 kwacha, and I failed to pay within 30 days, chances are that my friend will say, boy, you are delaying in paying me, I'm losing value on my money, so there'll be slightly something more. So what has been the outcome? The outcome has been, no, we'll engage Mopani. And the minister traveled to the Copper Belt. He had promised on the floor of Parliament that, Honorable Kang'ombe, you will attend that meeting. When they arrived in Kitwe, they didn't, of course, invite me. But the point is, at least for me as a lawmaker, I raised the query. It was well publicized. At least the Hansard books at Parliament will record that Christopher Kang'ombe spoke for suppliers and contractors.
What about the electricity one?
That one the minister agreed.
Okay.
The minister agreed in principle that now we have open access. So if there are mining companies that can generate their own power, they'll have to apply to ERB. If ERB approves that they generate their own power, we'll have to find a formula that allows ZESCO to still supply part of the power, but at the same time, if the power company can't meet all the needs of the mining company should be able to say, I think give us a license to make our own 200 megawatts. So that one, others within the ruling party almost started arguing because they didn't understand that this is something that government would not object. You know how politics are in Parliament. Parliament is polarized. Others think because Christopher is coming from the opposition, everything he says we have to reject. But they were shocked that because I had a compelling reason, the minister in his response said, no, actually that is why we have open access. Those that think they can generate their own power, sell it into the grid, please apply to ERB.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back to the phone lines. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello? Okay, no, this time. Morning, sir. What's your name?
Good morning, sir. That sounds a familiar voice. Dr. Proud.
First of all, Dr. Kang'ombe, this issue about Malongo is not a good where you hear family says we don't want the president to be there. At the same time, Mutasira is a member of parliament in Chawama making development to the same person which he doesn't want to visit his father when he's dead. When is the Christianity there? He couldn't ignore him and started laughing over those people. That's why I support those people who have taken the issue to last. If it was you, Luchi, you know you are journalist. You say anybody, be it opposition and couldn't ignore it, but you don't choose. A person who have died in Kang'ombe, he got no enemy. He need anybody to mourn. Including the time of which, I mean, some people say, no, my stories in peace. Or no, so what we can only advise Kang'ombe, since you don't have a party joining the European, no matter.
Well, I think I've already summarized my submissions on. I hope Proud paid attention to the issue of the Constitution, the issue of the benefits of a former president, and the fact that for me, as a young person, I wish there could be a way in which we could resolve this problem so that the issue is managed amicably.
Okay. 2268410978895. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
What is your name? Okay, go ahead. You're live on radio.
Good morning. Mkwai.
Hello. Hello. Okay, I think we've lost him. But I get the point that he or she was raising, which is that there are many challenges in this country at the moment. Load shedding, small business are suffering. There needs to be a little more that is done for them.
Well, you didn't ask that question in our first remarks, but I think I'll touch on it and I'll be very quick. The issue of the cost of doing business, okay? And this is why, for me, the reason I took to Parliament a motion on incentives for local businesses, I was trying to reflect, okay? You incorporate a company, Luchi. To register a company, you have to pay, right? To get a bank account, there's something that has to be paid, to get your articles of association, and then you set up a company at your own cost, and then now you have to run it at a huge cost, the cost on electricity, the cost on fuel. There are things that are affecting the growth of Zambian businesses. And that is why the only thing I could do as an opposition member of parliament is to ask government, is it possible we can create a window where people register a company, we give them 2-3 years to run without paying these obligations. You know, sometimes when you set up a company and you have so many obligations to pay, your business will not be able to cope. Worse if the electricity that should help you run some businesses is not available. How many people can afford solar? How many people can afford a lithium battery? How many people can afford an inverter? Those are things now become real challenges. So the caller is basically telling government, look, you are in government, the mandate is with you. Now, as you discharge your duties in government, bear in mind that there are problems affecting you, people that you may not be aware of because you are in a better position to cope with the shocks. There are shocks in the economy. It's only now that we are able to see, and we told Parliament, we told government in Parliament that how do you allow one company called Agrofuel to clean up the pipe, operate the pipe, transport a finished commodity called fuel from Dar es Salaam into Ndola, and fix the price? These are things we raised in Parliament for 4 years. It had to take the IMF, Luchi, it had to take the International Monetary Fund to say, open up the pipeline, allow other people to transport, and be mindful. Let's clarify something. The commodity we're discussing is petrol. Diesel still comes through trucks. There's no pipeline bringing diesel. So these are things we've been raising because ultimately the price of fuel affects businesses. You are running a younger business, you don't have enough money on your tank for fuel, you won't make your money. So Angela is basically saying the cost of doing business is still high. Will I spend an hour here mentioning names? And now that would be a waste of time. What I would tell government to do is, can you sort out the cost of doing business? Can you allow people that set up businesses to grow? Because the numbers at Pakra are alarming. People set up companies, Luchi, under 5 years, people close companies because really the struggle is there.
Okay. Here's a voicemail from someone.
Good morning, Luchi. Good morning. I just wanted to mention something with regards to CDF that you were talking about earlier. I also believe that it is very poorly structured instrument because a lot of services and functions are taken away from institutions that are supposed to be there. For example, with the skills development, that should be purely under TVETA or TVETA institutions and should be delegated, should be devolved to the district level. Where a district doesn't have those skills development centers, they can involve other skills development centers within the province or adjacent provinces. I think it is a very, very, very bad way we are doing things by saying, okay, so many people are going to go to such and such a place to learn whatever it is. Meanwhile, you've got no feedback system that we can depend on. We have no proper way of monitoring these people from our community. Say this young man went to such and such a place, got such a skill, has he got a job, can I employ him or has he got enough skills for me to work with him? So those are things that I think we should take a few steps back again and reassess.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Royson. Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to agree with the caller, but maybe also add something very critical. All these duties that we want managed through CDF are actually duties of specific government entities, okay? And this is why, for me, as we send money from the center into a constituency through the council, because the money doesn't sit in the constituency. It sits with Kitwe City Council, it sits with Lusaka City Council. Let us be mindful that we may try to do what we may call shortcuts, quick fix solutions, yet we already have institutions that should run with these programs. So for instance, the caller has referred to TVETA, an institution of government that should deal with skills training. So are we saying if Kitwe has a TVET institution We would rather send the money, the component for skills training into that institution and then it manages, or are we saying let people open up skills training facilities provided the standards are met? For me, the second option is valuable. TVETA should regulate the standards. You can't have, we've seen clips on TV, Luchi, you've seen people complaining in places where children have gone for skills training, yet the facility does not even have any form of equipment. What equipment are we using to equip our young people with skills? So for me, the issue is, has TVETA performed its role of maintaining certain standards in these learning institutions? A building called a skills training center is just a building. The actual skills have to be delivered at a certain level of quality, and this is where it becomes very important. So the caller is basically saying, no. The issue of loading money into the constituency is not giving us the skills that we want. It's not giving us the leakages that we need, because, Luchi, you can't be training people, churning out graduates from college, yet we don't know where they are being linked to. I think the issue is linkages.
Okay, here's someone who says, giving the mine to the locals can't work. We're talking about equipment and safety of the people.
No, it can work out.
In my opinion, I would like the government to take over and find the investor to run the mine and employ the locals. If you allow the mine to be run by locals, there will be total disaster and confusion. That's from somebody on Facebook called Jim Mulenga. So
Jim Mulenga, the issue that I responded to, and I want to be on record, this will remain consistent with Christopher Kang'ombe 5, 6, 7 years from now. The issue is the skills to run a mine in Zambia, the skills are already there. You go to Mopani, the CEO is a qualified engineer. He worked in ZCCM. He's now working in Mopani. Go to KCM, all those engineers in KCM, mine manager, those are Zambians. So in terms of skills, Bamlenga, the skills are there. Let's not question the skills of Zambians. What we should be discussing is, do we need $5 million, which should come from a foreign entity, or you and I can raise $5 million locally? The argument from Christopher Kang'ombe is that ZCCMIH is making a lot of money from all these mines. Why can't they put aside part of their money? Why can't Ministry of Finance, part of the income they are earning from mining taxes, why can't they say, okay, we've tried foreign mining companies, they have the capital, they have the money, whatnot. Can we also try one mine? Okay, now which scale? Because you see, you start from somewhere and you begin building up. So for me, the motion I'm taking to Parliament, and I'll start with Mufumbwe, is that government should run that mine. I don't agree with government looking for an investor. I don't agree with government looking for a foreign investor to run that gold mine in Mufumbwe. That gold mine, we have experts today who can design how that mine can be operated. Do we need $10 million? Do we need $200 million? Luchi, we can raise that money provided the business model is viable.
Okay. I have, there's a question here from somebody, and maybe this is something that you can then push forward to the Minister of Energy. This person says, I'm curious why the public discourse around power generation seems to overwhelmingly focus on the Kariba Dam. We are fortunate to have other significant hydroelectric facilities, Iteji, the plant at Victoria Falls. Could you please elaborate on the current operational status of these sites, and crucially, where the power generated from Iteji and the Victoria Falls is currently being utilized or directed?
Well, I don't have those figures offhand. What however, I can refer to is the issue of where we haven't tapped the resource. So we have a river called the Luapula River, okay? The surveys are already in place. The feasibility studies have been done. Luapula has potential to give us 1,200 megawatts. That's Luapula River. There are 4 sites that have been identified. 2 sites are on the side of Congo, 2 sites are on the side of Zambia. So what we should be asking ourselves is that as we look for the right energy mix, there are also what we may call low-hanging fruits. There are already reports sitting, waiting for people. That is where now we must ask ourselves, what financial model can we design to get people to invest money? Luchi, and for the benefit of the caller, the Copperbelt Energy was looking for $200 million 2 years ago. They issued what is called a green bond. Okay, what is a green bond? A green bond is basically CEC saying, here is a market for electricity. We are energy experts. In this sector, we are market leaders, okay? We want $200 million. We want to set up a solar-powered plant that will allow us to sell electricity to this client. do we have people that are ready to put in millions of dollars so that we do it for you and then we share the profits? That's a green bond. CEC in 2 years has been able to raise $200 million, Luchi. They are setting up power plants. The client is waiting for that electricity. Is it possible for another model to be designed? Is it possible for us to say, Wushe, how much money do we need to set up another coal-fired plant? Luchi, in Mamba, NAPSA has invested millions of dollars into Mamba. That phase 2 we are discussing, which government is saying, no, there's Mamba phase 2 coming. That's money from NAPSA. Okay, NAPSA has put in millions of dollars. My question, and I ask again, is it possible for other Zambians to set up a crowd fund? This one puts in a 10,000 kwacha, another one puts in a 10,000 kwacha. We multiply the money, we raise the money, we simply give one expert, can you set up a power plant to sell electricity? So to answer that question, before we talk about Itezi, before we talk about these others that are already existing, we have other low-hanging fruits. There are models that are in place. Before we talk about engineers, what about accountants? What about people that are finance experts? What models are they proposing for us to be able to set up some of these things? My question still lingers around my mind, Luchi. We've had people trained in doing business proposals in Zambia, qualified people. They've worked in banks. We have people that have worked in engineering. They are engineering experts. We have economists that are able to interpret reports, whatnot. We have environmental accountants. So I'm asking myself, can we fail to just try to our own power plant? It's us who are going to try it using the resources that are available.
Honorable Kang'ombe, anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Well, before I go, Luchi, we have elections coming next year. Let's leave politics to next year, okay? We have problems affecting our country. Our colleagues that are in government should listen when we make suggestions. We are not interested in politics of calling each other names. For me, I want this government to be listening when we tell them, you can't have one company running the Tazama pipeline. Can you have other people to access it? Don't wait for foreigners to tell you what to do. Don't wait for IMF to tell you, open up the pipeline. We've been telling you for 4 years. If we tell you today, can you detach empowerment loans from CDF? We are telling you because we've seen there's a problem. CDF loans are being misused. People don't want to pay back because it's the politicians that is always handing over the checks. When we make these suggestions, Luchi, we're not being malicious. We want a better Zambia. We want people who need to be empowered to be empowered. We want funds to be revolving funds. These are concerns that affect our people. I want to thank Radio Phoenix for the opportunity to speak today.
Okay. There was a text I wanted to read for you. I don't want you to go away thinking that people in Kamfinsa don't really care about you and aren't bothered by what you're doing. So this is from somebody called CN. CN says, we appreciate the bridge that you and the government put up in Kamfinsa. At least farmers are able to transport their goods.
Yeah, Kamfinsa has got a lot of streams, and we thought one of our priorities would be to do a lot of bridges, transport inputs, transport the finished commodity. I think that is one of the things we've been able to do.
Okay. There is also, again, maybe you have this through the office, but somebody called Sibika says, how can we directly engage with the Honorable MP through WhatsApp for various issues?
Well, my number is 0966 61 9075 or 966 61 9075. Please drop me a text. We have a lot of platforms on WhatsApp where we are exchanging ideas. We have people from different political parties. I always bring in topics because I'm more concerned about our country. We need to create a society of ideas for development. That is what should define our politics.
Okay. Is that the number that I have?
That's the number you have.
Cool. Just in case you leave and then someone says,
that's the same number,
Luchi.
No, that's the same